It's 1998. The world watches with bated breath as the U.S. Department of Justice launches its monumental antitrust case against Microsoft. At the heart of it all stands Bill Gates, CEO of the software giant, defending his company's aggressive bundling of Internet Explorer with Windows. The Internet was still young, a wild frontier, but Microsoft's shadow loomed large. Netscape Navigator, once the undisputed king, was rapidly losing ground, its market share eroding under the relentless assault of a pre-installed, free competitor. This courtroom battle wasn't just about market share, it was about the very soul of the burgeoning digital age. Just months before the antitrust trial commenced, Netscape made a daring move. Facing overwhelming pressure from Microsoft, it open-sourced the code for Navigator, giving birth to the Mozilla project. This was a desperate gamble, an attempt to rally developers and users around an open platform, a last-ditch effort to survive. The hope was that a community-driven browser could fend off a corporate giant. In our real history, this effort eventually bore fruit as Firefox, but only after years of struggle, Netscape's commercial entity long dissolved. But what if this desperate gamble had been given an immediate, seismic boost? In our divergent timeline, the judicial landscape shifts dramatically. Instead of the eventual settlement that allowed Microsoft to largely maintain its structure, the courts deliver a harsher verdict. Citing undeniable anti-competitive practices, the U.S. Department of Justice secures a monumental victory. Judge Thomas Penfield Jackson, seeing no other path to restoring fair competition, decrees a full breakup of Microsoft. Windows and Internet Explorer are legally separated. This seismic ruling sends shockwaves through the tech world, but it also creates an unprecedented opening for Netscape and the nascent Mozilla project. The breakup meant Microsoft could no longer force Internet Explorer onto every Windows user. Overnight, the playing field leveled. Users, freed from the default, actively sought alternatives. Netscape Navigator, now bolstered by the open-source Mozilla engine and a vibrant developer community, surged back. The Navigator Next project, driven by what would have been Firefox's early developers, became the de facto choice for many, championed for its speed, customization, and commitment to open standards. Microsoft's once unassailable browser market share began a steady, irreversible decline, never reaching the dominance it achieved in our reality. With Netscape Navigator leading the market, built on an open-source core, the very nature of web development shifted dramatically. Instead of Microsoft's proprietary extensions, the World Wide Web Consortium, or W3C, became the undisputed arbiter of web standards. Netscape actively contributed to and championed these open specifications, ensuring universal compatibility and preventing vendor lock-in. This era saw rapid, consistent evolution of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Developers no longer had to code for IE or for Netscape, they coded for the web, fostering an explosion of creativity and functionality. The absence of Internet Explorer's bundled dominance meant no single search engine ever gained an unfair default advantage. Google still emerged, its revolutionary PageRank algorithm quickly proving superior. However, it did so in a fiercely competitive landscape. Yahoo Search remained a formidable contender for longer, while other innovative search engines, some focused on privacy or specialized indexing, thrived. Users actively chose their preferred search provider, fostering an environment where innovation and relevance, not default settings, drove market share. This created a more diverse and user-centric search ecosystem from the early 2000s onwards. When the first wave of advanced mobile phones arrived in the mid-2000s, the web was already fundamentally open. Netscape, and its Mozilla core, quickly adapted. Mobile browsers, instead of being proprietary WAP gateways or app-centric walled gardens, were built on robust, open web standards from day one. This meant the mobile web was truly the web, not a stripped-down imitation. Companies like Apple, when they launched the iPhone, found a rich, standardized mobile web ready to embrace, rather than having to force developers into a new App Store paradigm. The web simply scaled, elegantly, to smaller screens. Netscape's open-source legacy led to a truly diverse browser engine landscape. Gecko, the engine powering Navigator Next, became the dominant force, but its open nature fostered innovation. Other browser projects could easily fork or contribute to Gecko, or build entirely new engines leveraging its principles. WebKit, the engine behind Safari and later Chrome in our timeline, might still emerge, but in a world where Gecko's influence was foundational. This collaborative ecosystem meant faster development of new web features, better security, and a constant drive for performance, as competition was based on merit, not monopoly. The ramifications for the broader software industry were immense. Without Microsoft's iron grip on the browser and, by extension, desktop interactions, proprietary software faced stiffer competition from open-source alternatives. Linux, already gaining traction in servers, made more significant inroads on the desktop. Developers, free from having to prioritize Microsoft's platforms, embraced cross-platform tools and open standards more readily. This fostered a more decentralized and diverse software ecosystem, reducing reliance on a single vendor and encouraging innovation from smaller companies and independent developers globally. With universally adopted open web standards and powerful, consistent browsers, the concept of web applications flourished much earlier and more robustly. Companies built rich, interactive software directly in the browser, confident it would work across all major platforms without needing specific plugins or proprietary extensions. This accelerated the software as a service (SaaS) model, reducing the need for costly desktop software licenses and empowering businesses with flexible, accessible tools. The web truly became the operating system, a vision Netscape had from its inception, but one stifled in our reality. In an internet dominated by an open-source browser like Navigator Next, security and privacy became paramount concerns much earlier. The community-driven nature meant vulnerabilities were often identified and patched rapidly by a global network of ethical hackers. Furthermore, with no single company holding excessive power, user data was less consolidated. Netscape, having learned from past battles, would have pushed for stronger privacy standards and user controls within the browser, influencing the entire industry. The concept of tracking protection and ad blockers would be integral browser features, not aftermarket add-ons. The ramifications for mobile extended beyond just the browser. With a robust open web, the need for application-specific walled gardens diminished. While app stores would still exist, they would primarily host utility apps or games. Most daily interactions, banking, shopping, social media, would happen directly on the open mobile web, powered by advanced, standardized browsers. This would shift power away from platform owners like Apple and Google, and back towards content providers and users, fostering greater freedom and reducing commission fees that stifle innovation for small developers. The landscape of tech giants in 2026 would look profoundly different. Microsoft, while still a major player in enterprise software and cloud computing, would never have achieved the pervasive consumer dominance it enjoyed in our timeline. Google would remain powerful in search and advertising, but its influence wouldn't be amplified by controlling Chrome's market share. Apple would still innovate in hardware, but its ecosystem would be less restrictive, built on a more open web. The sheer number of tech companies would be higher, with more diverse offerings, less consolidation, and a greater emphasis on interoperability. For web developers, this timeline represents a kind of utopia. The frustration of cross-browser compatibility issues, the IE6 nightmare, would be a distant, unpleasant memory. Instead, they would work with a consistent set of open standards, pushing the boundaries of what's possible directly on the web. New technologies like WebAssembly, WebGL, and advanced CSS features would be adopted faster and more uniformly, creating richer, more dynamic online experiences. Development cycles would be quicker, innovation would accelerate, and the barrier to entry for aspiring web creators would be significantly lower. An open web fostered by Netscape's victory would also impact digital literacy and education. Without proprietary barriers, understanding how the web works becomes more accessible. Educational resources, coding bootcamps, and developer communities would thrive around universally understood standards. This cultivates a generation of internet users who are not just consumers, but active participants and creators, empowering them with the knowledge to build and customize their online world. Digital education would focus on the principles of the web, not on mastering specific vendor-locked ecosystems. Fast forward to 2026 in this alternate reality. The Internet is a vibrant, diverse, and fundamentally open place. Netscape Navigator Next, or its direct descendants, remain the dominant browsers, cherished for their speed, privacy features, and commitment to open standards. There's no single choke point of control, no monolithic tech company dictating the web's direction. Innovation flows from a global community, responsive to user needs and developer input. The digital landscape is a testament to what happens when competition thrives, monopolies are curbed, and the spirit of an open internet prevails. Looking back at our own timeline, we can't help but wonder what opportunities were lost. The dominance of Internet Explorer, followed by the rise of Chrome, shaped a web that, while powerful, often struggled with proprietary quirks, data silos, and a concentration of power. The original vision of the open web, championed by Netscape and its early proponents, was partially overshadowed. This alternate history isn't just an exercise in what if, it's a reminder of the critical importance of competition, open standards, and user choice in safeguarding the Internet's future. The browser wars weren't just about market share, they were about defining the very essence of our digital world.